The transport ship shook as it entered the atmosphere. Minho gripped his seat and watched through the window as purple clouds rushed past. Below him lay the Ashkari homeworld, a planet humans had never been allowed to visit until now. Earth was dying. The Velthari Empire had crushed humanity's defenses 3 years ago. Now only scattered groups of survivors remained, hiding in the ruins of once great cities. Minho's sister Hana led one of these groups. She had sent him on this mission with simple orders: get help, or humanity dies. The Ashkari were their last hope. This alien race had stayed neutral in the war, refusing to take sides. They were powerful, with technology that could bend light and weapons that could destroy entire fleets. But they never used them. They simply watched as other civilizations fell. Minho touched the small device on his collar. It would translate his words into the Ashkari language. He had practiced for weeks, learning their customs. The Ashkari valued respect above all else. One wrong word could end the negotiations before they began. The ship landed in a vast courtyard made of smooth white stone. Minho stepped out and felt the warm air on his face. The sky here was orange, not blue like Earth's. 2 suns hung overhead, casting strange shadows. 6 tall figures waited for him. They were Ashkari guards, each standing nearly 7 feet tall. Their skin had a slight silver shimmer, and their eyes were completely black. They wore flowing robes that seemed to move on their own. "Follow," one guard said, in a melodic voice. They led him through towering doors into the palace. The walls glowed with soft light, and the floor felt warm beneath his boots. Minho had seen many alien structures, but nothing like this. Everything seemed alive somehow. The throne room was enormous. Pillars reached up to a ceiling so high Minho couldn't see the top. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat Queen Liras. She was beautiful in a way that made Minho's breath catch. Her silver skin seemed to glow from within. Her hair floated around her head like she was underwater. She wore a crown that looked like it was made of living crystal. Her eyes, pure black like all Ashkari, focused on him with an intensity that made him feel exposed. "You are the human warrior," she said. Her voice echoed in the vast chamber. "You come seeking alliance." Minho bowed as he had practiced. "Your Majesty, I come on behalf of the human resistance. We ask for your help against the Velthari. The Ashkari do not interfere in the conflicts of others," Queen Liras replied. "This is our way for 10,000 years. "Then let me ask you this," Minho said, standing straight. "How long until the Velthari come for you? They've conquered every system between here and Earth. You think they'll stop?" A murmur ran through the Ashkari advisors standing near the throne. Queen Liras raised one hand, and silence fell. "The human speaks boldly," she said. There was something in her voice, amusement perhaps. "Tell me, warrior, why should we risk our people for yours?" Minho had prepared many answers to this question. Political arguments, strategic benefits, moral obligations. But standing before this alien queen, he decided to speak the truth. "Because you're curious," he said. "You've been watching us, studying us. Humans don't give up. We don't know how, even when we should. You want to know what happens when we're pushed to the edge." For a long moment, Queen Liras stared at him. Then, impossibly, she smiled. "Perhaps I do," she began. The palace shook. Explosions thundered outside. Alarms screamed through the halls. The guards rushed to the windows and shouted in their language. "Velthari warships," one of them cried. "They're attacking the city." More explosions rocked the palace. Part of the ceiling cracked and pieces fell, crashing to the floor. The Ashkari advisors scattered in panic. Minho ran toward the throne. "Your Majesty, we need to move." A massive explosion blew out the side wall. Fire and smoke filled the room. Through the gap, Minho saw Velthari dropships descending toward the palace. Queen Liras stood from her throne, her eyes flashing with anger. "They dare attack the Ashkari homeworld? They're here for you," Minho realized. "They want to stop this alliance before it starts." Another explosion, closer this time. The floor tilted. Minho grabbed the queen's arm as they both stumbled. Her skin was warm under his hand, warmer than he expected. "The guards are cut off," Queen Lyra said, looking around. Minho scanned the room. His combat training kicked in. There had to be another way out. Then he saw it, a small door hidden behind one of the pillars. It was half covered by fallen debris. "There," he pulled the queen toward it. "That leads to the old catacombs," she protested. "They haven't been used in centuries. They may not be safe. Safer than staying here," Minho said. The sound of Velthari soldiers echoed through the ruined walls. They were inside the palace now. Queen Lyris looked at Minho, then at the approaching danger. She nodded. Together they ran to the hidden door. Minho pushed aside the debris with strength born of desperation. The door opened with a grinding sound. Inside was darkness and the smell of ancient stone. Stairs led down into the black. "Can you see in the dark?" Minho asked. "Somewhat," the queen replied. "Then lead the way. I'll cover our backs." They descended into the catacombs just as Velthari soldiers burst into the throne room. Minho slammed the door shut behind them and jammed his combat knife into the mechanism. It wouldn't hold long, but it might buy them time. In the darkness, lit only by the faint glow of the queen's skin, they fled deeper into the ancient passages. Behind them, they heard the soldiers working on the door. Minho didn't know where they were going. He didn't know if they would survive. But for the first time since Earth fell, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Queen Lyris glanced back at him as they ran. In her black eyes, he saw the same feeling. The war had just changed. Neither of them knew how much. The catacombs were cold and endless. Minho and Queen Lyris had been walking for hours. The glow from her skin provided the only light in the ancient passages. "How long do these tunnels go?" Minho asked. "I do not know," the queen admitted. "These catacombs were built thousands of years ago. Before my time. They were meant as escape routes for the old empire." Minho's stomach growled. He had one emergency ration bar left in his pocket. He broke it in half and offered part to the queen. She looked at the food with curiosity. "What is this?" "Human food. It doesn't taste good, but it keeps you alive." Queen Lyris took a small bite. Her face twisted in what might have been disgust. "Your people eat this willingly, despite everything," Minho laughed. "When you're starving, you eat anything." They continued walking. The passages split and turned, forming a maze. Several times, they had to backtrack when they found collapsed tunnels. Minho marked their path with scratches on the wall, using his knife. On the second day, they found water dripping from the ceiling. They drank carefully, cupping their hands. The queen told him about her people while they rested. "The Ashkari believe in order," she explained. "Everything has its place. Everything follows the natural path. War disrupts that order. But sometimes you have to fight," Minho said, "to protect what matters. This is the human way," Queen Lyris observed. "You fight, even when you should not win. The Velthari study you. They say humans are dangerous because you refuse to accept defeat. Is that so wrong?" She considered this. "Perhaps not. My advisors think humans are foolish. But I wonder if we, Ashkari, have become too cautious. We do nothing, while others suffer." Minho studied her face in the dim light. She wasn't what he expected. He had imagined a cold, distant ruler. Instead, she seemed genuinely troubled by the war. On the third day, they were running out of strength. Minho's legs ached, and even the queen's glow was dimming. They hadn't found a way out. Then they turned a corner and saw it. A massive door, covered in strange symbols. It was made of metal that seemed to shine with its own light. "This is ancient Ashkari writing," Queen Lyris said, moving closer. She traced the symbols with her fingers. "This door leads to a sanctuary. A safe place with supplies, and another exit." "Can you open it?" Minho asked. "It requires my genetic signature," she said. She placed her hand on a smooth panel beside the door. Nothing happened. She tried again. Still nothing. The power has faded, she said quietly. It's been too long. Minho examined the door. There had to be another way. He studied the walls, the ceiling, the floor. Then he noticed something. Small vents near the bottom of the door. The sanctuary needs air circulation, he said. These vents must connect to the room inside. He lay on the ground and looked through one of the vents. He could see a faint light inside. Reaching through the vent, his fingers found a mechanism. It was a manual override, probably installed as a backup system. Humans are clever, Queen Lyra said, watching him work. We're good at improvising, Minho replied. The mechanism clicked. The door groaned and slowly opened. Inside the sanctuary, they found what they needed. Old supply containers held preserved food and water. Lights flickered on as they entered. Best of all, there was another door on the far side, but that door was sealed too. And this time, there was no manual override. Queen Lyra studied the symbols around it. This is a different kind of lock. It requires a ritual. What kind of ritual? A bond of trust, she read. In the old empire, ambassadors from different worlds would perform this to access secure locations. It creates a temporary connection between two beings. How do we do it? Minho asked. She read more of the ancient text, her expression growing uncertain. The instructions are damaged. Some parts are missing. But it seems simple enough. We must stand together and focus our intentions. Minho felt uneasy. Is it safe? The old empire used this for centuries, Queen Lyra said. It must be safe. They had no choice. The air in the sanctuary was limited. The other door, the one they came through, was blocked by a cave-in from the explosions above. They had to get through this door, or they would die here. They stood facing each other. Queen Lyra's took his hands in hers. Her skin was warm and soft. Focus on trust, she instructed. Think of your intention to protect and cooperate. Minho closed his eyes. He thought about his mission, about saving humanity, about getting both of them out alive. He thought about trust, about how he had trusted this alien queen enough to follow her into the darkness. The queen's skin began to glow brighter. Minho felt warmth spreading from her hands up his arms. Then something else. A presence in his mind. Gentle, but distinct. He could sense her thoughts, her emotions. Fear, determination, curiosity, and something else he couldn't name. She gasped softly. I can feel your mind, she whispered. Is that normal? Minho asked, not opening his eyes. I'm not certain. The text was damaged. The warmth intensified. It spread through Minho's chest, warm and strange. The queen's glow became brilliant, filling the entire sanctuary with silver light. Symbols on the walls lit up in response, ancient Ashkari writing blazing with energy. Then, as suddenly as it started, it stopped. They both stumbled backward, breaking the connection. Minho felt dizzy. Queen Lyras leaned against the wall, breathing hard. What was that? Minho asked. I'm not sure, she admitted. It felt more intense than the descriptions suggested. The sealed door began to open. Whatever they had done, it worked. Beyond the door lay another passage, and at the end of it, they could see natural light. The exit. We made it, Minho said. Queen Lyras nodded, but she looked troubled. She touched her chest where the warmth had been strongest. Something feels different, she said quietly. Different how? She shook her head. Perhaps nothing. The ritual may have side effects. We should go. They climbed out of the catacombs into the palace gardens. The attack was over. Ashkari soldiers rushed to them immediately. The queen was safe. Minho looked back at the catacomb entrance. 5 days trapped underground. A ritual neither of them fully understood. He touched his own chest, where he still felt an echo of that warmth. He didn't know it yet, but those 5 days had changed everything. Not just for him and the queen, but for the entire galaxy. 3 months had passed since Minho escaped the catacombs with Queen Lyras. The alliance was official now. Ashkari ships joined human forces in battle. They were winning. Minho stood on the bridge of a human warship, watching the latest victory. A Velthari supply fleet burned in the darkness of space. His second-in-command, Taeyang, clapped him on the shoulder. "Another successful mission," Taeyang said with a grin. "The Ashkari technology makes all the difference." "It does," Minho agreed, but his mind was elsewhere. He had received 3 urgent messages from the Ashkari homeworld in the past week. All encrypted. All marked for his eyes only. He hadn't opened them yet. Something in his gut told him they carried bad news. Back on Earth, his sister Hana noticed his distraction. "You've been different since you came back from that planet," she said one evening. They sat in what used to be a coffee shop, now converted into a resistance headquarters. "What happened down in those tunnels?" "Grain. We survived," Minho said. "That's what matters. Brother, I know you. Something's wrong." Before Minho could answer, his communicator beeped. Another message from the Ashkari homeworld. This one wasn't encrypted. It was an official summons from Queen Lyris herself. He was to return immediately. Hana saw his face change. "What is it?" "I have to go back," Minho said. "Why?" "The alliance is solid." "What could they need you for?" Minho didn't have an answer, but he felt that strange warmth in his chest again. The one he'd felt during the ritual. It had never fully gone away. The journey to the Ashkari homeworld took 2 days. Minho spent them trying to guess what was happening. Maybe the Queen wanted to discuss strategy. Maybe there was a threat he didn't know about. He didn't expect what he found. Queen Lyris waited for him in a private garden. Not the throne room. She sat on a bench beneath strange alien trees. When she saw him, she stood quickly. Her hand went to her stomach in a protective gesture. "Your Majesty," Minho said, bowing. "You summoned me?" "Minho," she said quietly. She never used his name before. "I need to tell you something. Something impossible." A tall Ashkari woman stepped out from behind a tree. She wore robes that marked her as someone important. Her face was stern. "I am Yuna," the woman said. "High Priestess of the Ashkari. I serve as the Queen's closest advisor." "What's going on?" Minho asked. Queen Lyris took a breath. "When we performed that ritual in the catacombs, we made a mistake. The text was damaged. We didn't perform a bond of trust." "Then what did we do?" "We performed the air bonding ritual," Yuna said. Her voice was hard. "An ancient ceremony used to create offspring between allied rulers." The words didn't make sense at first. Minho stared at them both. "That's impossible," he said. "Humans and Ashkari can't. We're completely different species." "That's what we thought too," Queen Lyris said. She met his eyes. "I'm pregnant, Minho. With your child." The world seemed to tilt. Minho sat down hard on the bench. "How?" he managed to ask. "The ritual wasn't just symbolic," Yuna explained. "It was biological. It was designed to allow different species to produce heirs together. A way to unite kingdoms in the old empire, but it hasn't been used in 8,000 years. We didn't even know it could still work." Minho looked at Queen Lyris. She looked scared. He had never seen her scared before. "This creates a problem," Yuna continued. "Our laws are very specific. The royal line must be pure Ashkari. A hybrid heir threatens 10,000 years of tradition." "What are you saying?" Minho asked, though he already knew. "The council wants the pregnancy terminated," Queen Lyris said. Her voice shook. "They say it's the only way to preserve order." Anger flared in Minho's chest. "That's murder." "It's politics," Yuna said coldly. "And if the Queen refuses, they will remove her from power. Without her, the alliance ends. Your people lose their only chance of survival." The choice was brutal and clear. Save the child, or save humanity. "There must be another way," Minho said. "I've been searching," Queen Lyris said. "Yuna has been helping me. But the traditionalists are powerful. They already speak of civil war." Minho stood and paced. His combat training was useless here. He couldn't fight an entire culture's beliefs. "What do you want?" he asked the Queen. Forget the politics. What do you want? Forget the politics. Queen Lyra's touched her stomach again. I never thought I could have a child. Royal Ashkarii must undergo a special ceremony. I was told I might never qualify. But now, her voice broke. Now I feel this life inside me, and I don't want to let it go. Then we fight, Minho said simply. Against my own people? If necessary. Yuna stepped forward. There may be hope. I've been studying the child's genetic structure. It's remarkable. The hybrid shows traits from both species in ways we've never seen. Strength from humans, psychic abilities from Ashkari. This child could be something new. How does that help? Minho asked. If we can prove the child is valuable, not dangerous, we might change minds. But we need time. A loud alarm cut through the garden. Ashkarii soldiers rushed in, their weapons ready. Your Majesty, one of them shouted. Velthari warships have entered our system. A full battle fleet. They're demanding we surrender you to them. Queen Lyris went pale. They know. Know what? Minho demanded. The Velthari tried to create hybrid soldiers centuries ago. Yuna said quickly. They failed. All their attempts died. But if they discover we succeeded, they'll want to study the child, Minho finished. Use it to create weapons. More explosions rocked the palace. Minho could see Velthari ships in the sky through the garden's dome. They've found us, Queen Lyris said. Minho drew his weapon. Then they'll have to go through me. Yuna touched the Queen's arm. We need to get you to the medical wing. You're not safe here. I can still fight, the Queen protested. Not while you're carrying the child, Yuna said firmly. You know this. More Ashkarii soldiers arrived. Minho recognized the tactical situation immediately. The Velthari weren't just attacking. They were focusing everything on the palace. They want you alive, he told the Queen. This is a capture mission, not an assassination. That's almost worse, she replied. Minho checked his weapon. Hana's fleet is 2 hours away. We just need to hold until then. 2 hours against the Velthari Empire, Yuna said grimly. I've survived worse odds, Minho said. He didn't mention that he had never had so much to lose before. The palace shook with each explosion. Minho ran through the corridors with Queen Lyris and Yuna, surrounded by Ashkarii guards. Above them, the space battle raged. Velthari ships hammered the planetary shields while Ashkarii defenders fought back. They reached the medical wing deep inside the palace. It was the most protected area, carved into solid rock beneath the surface. Yuna immediately began preparing medical equipment while guards sealed the doors. How long can these doors hold? Minho asked a guard captain. Against conventional weapons days, the captain replied. But the Velthari have plasma cutters. Maybe an hour. Not enough time. Hana's fleet was still too far away. Minho activated his communicator. Taeyang. What's your status? His second-in-command's voice crackled through. We're engaging the Velthari fleet now, sir. But they have 3 times our numbers. We're holding them off the planet, but we can't push them back. Keep them busy. Reinforcements are coming. Let's hope they come fast. Queen Lyris sat on a medical bed, her hand on her stomach. She looked tired. The pregnancy was only 3 months along. But Ashkarii gestation periods were different from humans. Yuna had explained that the hybrid child was developing faster than expected. How are you feeling? Minho asked her. Scared, she admitted. For the first time in my reign, I truly fear for the future. We'll get through this. Will we? She looked at him. Even if we survive today, what then? My people are divided, your people are nearly extinct, and this child... She touched her stomach. This child doesn't belong to any world. Any world. Maybe that's the point, Minho said. Maybe the child represents something new. Before the Queen could respond, alarms blared. The guards at the door shouted warnings. They're cutting through, the captain yelled. Minho checked his weapon. He had limited ammunition. The guards had energy weapons, but they wouldn't last long against a sustained assault. The door glowed red-hot as the Velthari cut through. Minho positioned himself in front of Queen Lyras. Whatever came through that door would have to go through him first. The door exploded inward. Velthari soldiers poured through, their armor black and menacing. They moved with military precision, firing weapons that shot bolts of red energy. The Ashkari guards fired back. The medical wing became a war zone. Energy blasts lit up the room. 2 guards fell. Then 3. Minho fired carefully, making each shot count. He hit a Velthari soldier in the gap between armor plates. The soldier went down, but more kept coming. "Fall back," the captain ordered. "Protect the queen." They retreated deeper into the medical wing. Yuna grabbed medical supplies and followed. Queen Lyras tried to help, but Minho pushed her behind him. "Stay down," he ordered. A Velthari soldier got past the guards. He raised his weapon at the queen. Minho didn't think. He threw himself forward, tackling the soldier. They crashed into medical equipment. Minho fought with desperate strength, finally knocking the soldier unconscious. But more soldiers kept coming. They were being overwhelmed. Then the palace shook differently, a deeper rumbling. Through the ceiling, they heard new explosion patterns. "That's human weapons." Taeyang's voice came through the communicator. "Your sister's fleet just arrived. They're hitting the Velthari from behind." Hope flared. But they still had to survive the soldiers already inside. The Velthari pushed harder, knowing their time was running out. The battle became brutal. The guard captain fell. More Ashkari guards died protecting their queen. Then Queen Lyras screamed. Minho spun around. She was doubled over on the floor, her face twisted in pain. "No," Yuna said, rushing to her. "It's too early. The stress of the battle, the child is coming. Can't you stop it?" Minho demanded. "There's no stopping an Ashkari birth once it begins." Minho looked at the doorway where Velthari soldiers still fought to break through. Then, at Queen Lyras, who needed immediate medical attention. The situation was impossible. He made a decision. "Hold this position," he shouted to the remaining guards. "No one gets through." Then he helped Yuna move the queen to a clear area. Yuna worked quickly, setting up medical equipment with shaking hands. "I need you to help," Yuna told Minho. "I can't do this alone. I don't know anything about Ashkari medicine. Just do what I tell you." The next minutes were chaos. Behind them, guards fought and died holding the door. In front of them, Queen Lyras struggled through the most difficult moment of her life, and Minho, a human warrior, found himself helping deliver an alien child. Yuna barked instructions. Minho followed them, trying not to think about the soldiers getting closer. Queen Lyras gripped his hand so hard he thought bones might break. "I can't," the queen gasped. "I can't do this." "Yes, you can," Minho said. "You're the strongest person I know. You can do this." The lights flickered as another explosion shook the palace. The battle above was reaching its peak. "Push!" Yuna commanded. Queen Lyra screamed again. Then, suddenly, a different sound filled the medical wing, a baby crying. Yuna held up the child carefully. "It's a girl," she said with wonder in her voice. The baby was tiny. Impossibly tiny. Her skin had a slight silver shimmer like Ashkari, but it was softer, more like human skin. Her eyes, when they opened, were not fully black like Ashkari eyes. They had color, a dark brown like Minho's own eyes. Queen Lyris reached for the baby. Yuna placed the child in her arms. The queen looked down at her daughter, and tears ran down her face. Then something remarkable happened. The baby made a sound. Not crying now, but something else. A sort of pulse of energy that Minho could feel in his chest. It reminded him of the ritual in the catacombs. But stronger. The pulse spread outward from the baby like a wave. It passed through the walls, through the rock, through the palace itself. Above them, in the space battle, something changed. "What's happening?" Taeyang's voice came through, confused. "The Velthari ships. They're dead in space. All their systems just shut down." The Velthari soldiers in the medical wing collapsed, not dead, but unconscious. Their weapons and armor sparked and went dark. The baby had done something. Some kind of psychic pulse that affected technology and minds. Stronger than any Ashkari power they had seen before. Yuna stared at the child in shock. The hybrid abilities. They're beyond anything we predicted. The remaining Ashkari guards looked at the baby with awe. Word would spread quickly. The traditionalists who opposed the hybrid child would hear about this. They would understand what this child represented. Power, hope, the future. Queen Lyris held her daughter close and looked at Minho. What should we name her? Minho thought of the sky over Earth. The sky he hoped his sister's fleet could now protect. He thought of hope itself, floating above the darkness. Sora, he said. Let's name her Sora. The queen smiled through her tears. Sora. Yes, that's perfect. Outside, the Velthari fleet was in full retreat. Hana's ships pursued them. The battle was won. But Minho knew the real battle was just beginning. 6 months had passed since Sora was born. The galaxy had changed in ways no one expected. Minho stood in the Ashkari Palace gardens, watching his daughter take her first steps. She walked between him and Queen Lyris, her small hands reaching for both of them. Her laughter filled the air like music. She's growing so fast, Lyris said softly. Too fast. Minho agreed. Sora was developing at an accelerated rate, showing abilities neither human nor fully Ashkari. She could already understand multiple languages. Her psychic abilities manifested in small ways, moving small objects, sensing emotions. Hana approached across the garden. She wore the uniform of the new Allied Defense Force, a mix of human and Ashkari design. She had been promoted to admiral after the battle. Brother, she greeted him. Then she smiled at Sora. And my brilliant niece, getting bigger every day. Sora ran to her aunt. Hana picked her up easily, spinning her around. The child giggled. The council meeting starts in an hour, Hana said to Minho. Are you ready? As ready as I'll ever be. Today was important. The first meeting of the Galactic Unity Council. Representatives from 12 different species were gathering on the Ashkari homeworld. All because of what Sora represented. Word had spread quickly about the hybrid child. At first, there was fear. The traditionalist Ashkari had protested loudly. Some even threatened violence. But when they learned what Sora had done during the battle, how her psychic pulse had saved the queen and defeated the Velthari, opinions began to shift. Other species heard the story too. They wondered, if humans and Ashkari could create a child together, what else was possible? The old walls between species started to crack. The Velthari Empire itself had begun to fracture. After losing their fleet and their strongest commander in the battle, different factions fought for control. Without their military unity, their conquered territories started to rebel. Earth was free again. Yuna joined them in the garden. The High Priestess had become an unlikely ally, one of Sora's strongest defenders. The representatives are arriving, Yuna announced. Some are very curious to meet the child. Quote, Is that safe? Lyris asked, immediately protective. Guards will be present, Yuna assured her. But the galaxy needs to see her. She's the symbol of what we're trying to build. They walked to the Great Hall together. It had been rebuilt after the battle, larger and grander than before. Inside, representatives from across the galaxy waited. Minho recognized some species. The tall, plant-like Verdani. The crystalline Loomis, who communicated through light. The aquatic Deepkin, in their water-filled suits. Others were completely new to him. At the center of the hall stood a circular table. No one species sat above another. That was deliberate. This was meant to be a council of equals. Queen Lyris took her seat. Minho stood behind her. Not as a guard, but as a partner. Hana stood nearby as military representative. And Sora, dressed in clothes that mixed human and Ashkari styles, sat on her mother's lap. The room fell silent when they saw the child. An elderly Verdani spoke first, his voice like wind through leaves. So this is the hybrid. The one who stopped the Velthari fleet. This is my daughter, Queen Lyris said firmly. Her name is Sora. A Loomis representative shimmered brightly. We have studied the reports. The child possesses abilities unprecedented in our records. She represents evolutionary possibilities we never considered. She represents hope, Minho corrected. She proves that our differences can create strength, not just conflict. A representative from a species Minho didn't recognize stood up. My people have been at war with our neighbors for 3 generations. We fight over resources, over territory, but hearing of this child, of this alliance between humans and Ashkari, the being paused. We wonder if there is another way. More representatives spoke. Each told similar stories. Of conflicts that seemed endless. Of hatred passed down through generations. Of fear. Of anything different. Sora listened to all of it. Even at her young age, she seemed to understand. She looked at each speaker with her unusual brown eyes. Then the child did something no one expected. She slipped from her mother's lap and walked to the center of the table. Before anyone could stop her, she placed her small hand on the table's surface. A pulse of energy spread out. Gentle and warm. Everyone in the room felt it. Not controlling them, but connecting them. For a moment, they all felt what the others felt. The Verdani's hope. The Loomis's curiosity. The water being's loneliness. The human's determination. The Ashkari's caution. And through it all, Sora's simple, pure wish. For everyone to understand each other. The connection broke after a few seconds. But its effect remained. Representatives who had arrived with suspicion now looked at each other with new eyes. Remarkable, Yuna whispered. The elderly Verdani spoke again, his voice thick with emotion. In all my years, I have never experienced anything like that. To feel another being's heart so clearly. This is what we're fighting for, Queen Lyra said. Not just an end to war, but true understanding. My daughter shows us it's possible. The council voted. It was unanimous. The Galactic Unity Council was officially formed. Each species would maintain its sovereignty, but they would work together. Share technology. Protect each other. Learn from one another. As the meeting ended, several representatives approached Minho and Lyras personally. They asked about the ritual that created Sora. Some admitted they were considering similar diplomatic bonds with other species. Your accident has started a revolution, Hana told her brother later. Not an accident anymore. Minho replied, watching Sora play with a Loomis child who was making shapes out of light. Maybe it was meant to be. That evening, Minho stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Ships from a dozen worlds filled the sky. Lyras joined him. Sora sleeping peacefully in her arms. I never thanked you, she said quietly. For what? For protecting me in the catacombs. For standing by me when the council wanted to end the pregnancy. For giving me this gift. She looked down at their daughter. I should thank you, Minho said. You gave humanity a future. And you gave me something I never thought I'd have. A family. They weren't married by human standards. They weren't bonded by Ashkari custom. But they were something new. Just like their daughter. Something the galaxy had never seen before. What do you think happens next? Lyras asked. Minho thought about all the species in the council. About the possibilities of understanding and cooperation. About the children who might be born from other such unions. We build something better, he said. We take all our differences and make them into strength. We show the galaxy that unity doesn't mean everyone becomes the same. It means everyone gets to be themselves. Together, Sora stirred in her mother's arms. Her eyes opened, looking up at the stars. Look, Lyra said. More ships arriving. Representatives from species we haven't even contacted yet. They've heard about the council and want to join. Minho smiled. They had accidentally started something that was growing beyond anything they imagined. A galaxy learning to work together instead of tearing itself apart. He took Lyras's free hand in his. She leaned against him. Below them, the city celebrated. Humans and Ashkari walked the streets together. Ships from distant worlds landed peacefully. Children of different species played in the parks. It wasn't perfect. There would still be conflicts. Some species would resist change. The Velthari were still dangerous, even in their fractured state. But for the first time in galactic history, there was real hope for peace. And it all started because a human warrior and an alien queen performed a ritual they didn't fully understand in dark catacombs beneath a palace. Sometimes the best things in life are accidents. Sometimes accidents change the universe. Sora looked up at her parents and smiled. Her small hand reached for the stars above. Somewhere in the galaxy, other children, other hybrids were being born. A new generation that would inherit a better future. The age of unity had begun, and Minho, who once thought he'd die fighting a losing war, now had everything worth living for.